Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 76th episode of In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 11th of November. My name is George Glass, an Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. Joining me today from the CTI team are Ryan Hicks and Dave Truman. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends that our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So, let's get into the situation report. First up, a critical patch for a zero-click RCE affecting millions of NAS devices. Synology has released a patch to address a critical security flaw impacting Synology Disk Station and B Photos. Tracked as CVE 2024-10443 and dubbed Risk Station, the unauthenticated zero-click vulnerability allows attackers to obtain root-level code execution on up to 2 million internet-exposed Synology NAS devices. The zero-click nature of this vulnerability does not require any user interaction to trigger the exploit, allowing attackers to steal sensitive data and plant additional malware. This will go hand in hand with all of those botnets that we've seen on the rise recently, Mirai and so forth. So it's imperative if you're running those, or staff members that are running those at home, maybe to get those patched as soon as possible. Next up, a malware campaign is using Ethereum smart contracts to control npm's TypoSquat packages. An ongoing campaign targeting npm developers was flagged on 31st of October 2024. At least 287 TypoSquat versions of legitimate packages have been published to the npm package registry, attempting to trick developers into running cross-platform malware. The attack is notable for utilizing Ethereum smart contracts for command and control server access distribution. The decentralized nature of the blockchain complicates efforts to block the campaign, as IP addresses served by the contract can be updated as they are blocked. Interesting one for that one there. We'll make sure to keep a close eye on that. Lastly, Google AI's tool Big Sleep finds zero-day vulnerability in SQLite database engine. Google has said it's discovered a zero-day vulnerability in the SQLite open source database engine using its large language model assistive framework, Big Sleep, formerly called Project Naptime. They claim the development is the first real-world instance of a vulnerability being discovered by an AI agent. The project, first detailed in June 2024, has evolved from a technical framework to improve automated vulnerability discovery approaches into attempts to leverage AI code comprehension and reasoning abilities to simulate human behavior when identifying and demonstrating security vulnerabilities. That is incredibly interesting, and we'll make sure to keep a very close eye on those developments. I think that's a pretty big step change in the industry there, so we'll be sure to keep a close eye on that. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. So let's get into the rest of today's briefing. Today, we're going to cover the following trends our team is concentrating on. I'm covering a CVSS10 vulnerability in Cisco access points. Ryan is going to discuss a new APT campaign that leverages RDP files. And finally, Dave is talking about North Korean APT actors working with Play ransomware. So let's get into this vulnerability. It's a perfect 10 vulnerability in the Cisco ultra-reliable wireless backhaul access points. It's tracked as CVE 2024-20418 and carries a CVSS score of a perfect 10. The vulnerability affects the following products that you can see on the screen there. That's part of the Catalyst tranche of Cisco access points. There is no POC and no in-the-wild exploitation. However, the vulnerability allows an unauthenticated remote attacker to perform command injection as root, and that could be done by sending a crafted HTTP request to the web-based management interface of an affected system. That means that those affected by this need to upgrade to at least 17.141 or 17.151 to receive these patches. As I said before, there's no evidence of exploitation in the wild, but if you cannot update soon, we really do recommend removing those interfaces from the internet if at all possible. It's highly likely that this vulnerability will be targeted for research by attackers. And that's it for me. I will hand now to Ryan to talk about this RDP spear phishing. Over to you, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah, so there have been multiple reports by companies, including Microsoft's, Amazon, and Site Ukraine, of a new spear phishing campaign by KTA014, also known as Midnight Blizzard or APT29. And it was targeting organizations by utilizing remote desktop protocol files. So Microsoft has assessed that the goal of the campaign was for intelligence collection, which does align with the group's known kind of objectives and from the past campaigns and reporting. And the primary target, again, further aligns with the expected scope of the group, so included government, defence, education, and NGOs across multiple countries. In the campaign, the group sent spear phishing emails to targets with attached RDP files, and these were configured to connect the victim to an attacker-controlled remote server when opened. And then once that connection was made, the local devices resources were essentially mapped to the adversary server. So that included things like the logical hard disks, clipboard contents, and a few sort of security and authentication features mapped across. And also establishing the connection could also expose user credentials of the victim to the attacker. And then from there, the group could really just sort of deploy further malware to the local system or introduce persistence to the machine, as well as any credentials gathered from that initial connection could also then be reused for either kind of reaccess into the same organization or during a kind of a business email compromise to conduct additional spear phishing campaigns, so kind of jumping along the line. To make the campaign appear more legitimate, the group sent phishing emails from previously compromised organizations, as well as spoofing AWS within the domains themselves. And these domains also appear to have been spoofing a variety of kind of target relevant organizations, including NCFTA, NATO, Ministry of Defense, and a lot of different government organizations, which is what you can see at the bottom there, just a few examples of some of those domains. But a full list of those are available in the Microsoft advisory. And just to note that Kroll's detection engineering team have evaluated this campaign reporting and is developing relevant detections to identify this activity in future. And just to round off with just a few recommendations. So firstly, ensuring multi-factor authentication is in place to minimize the impact of that potential credential reuse, and also ensuring users awareness of phishing and the dangers of executing RDP files. And lastly, Microsoft customers should additionally consult their mitigation sections. In their particular report, they had a large mitigations section for advice for their particular customers. So certainly recommend having a look through that if you are one of those customers. That's all for me. Hand back to you, George.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And now I'll hand over to Dave to talk about North Korean threat actors collaborating with Play. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. Palo Alto's Unit 42 has detailed what appears to be a collaborative ransomware compromise associated with North Korean threat actor KTA116, aka Jumpy Pisces, and KTA158, aka Play Ransomware. KTA116 initially gained access via a compromised user account in May 2024 and performed initial lateral movement, deploying both their own custom malware, DTrack, and the open source command and control framework Sliver. As we have previously mentioned, Sliver is designed to bypass common EDR platforms. The execution of DTrack was blocked by the victim's EDR platform. However, Sliver continued to beacon until September, indicating the scale of the compromise remained undetected for several months. Indications of KTA158's involvement came with an actor accessing the environment via the same compromised user account, performing pre-ransomware activities such as credential harvesting, privilege escalation, and EDR uninstallation, followed by deployment of Play Ransomware. The use of C user's public music directory and token player tool are TTPs that were seen and have been associated with KTA158 before. During the compromise, IM packets, Mimikatz, and PSExec were also used by the actors. A nation state collaborating with ransomware groups is an unpleasant prospect. The fact that D-Track was detected early, but Sliver remained beaconing for months, indicated that D-Track's detection may not have been fully investigated by the organisation to discover the entry vector and related infections. Threat hunting initially centered around the user and the host associated with D-Track EDR events might have helped uncover further compromise at an earlier stage. Thank you. George?
Thank you very much, Dave, and thank you to Ryan for also presenting today. That's all we have time for this week. If you have any questions or comments, please do reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. Have a wonderful day.